So the last thing needed to make the gatehouse weatherproof was the doors. So we took the old doors, which were all rotten at the bottom, and we fixed them up and jazzed them up, and we made new doors. Yeah, please subscribe, check it out. So yeah, I've been a bit worried about the gatehouse just having these 3 massive holes in the side of it, because the weather's getting super damp and windy, and yeah, we're using this wood insulation inside, which is really cool, but I don't want it to go moldy because it's so damp. So we just wanted to get the doors on in any way we could. So here are the old doors, which as you can see are all rotten along the bottom, and there is something really beautiful about them. The wood is just has a lot of patina, as they say, and I just thought, man, it's difficult to find doors that are going to fit these weird sized openings, and wouldn't it be nice if we could recycle the old doors? But what to do about the rotten bits at the bottom? So I came up with a plan. I kind of thought, well, we've got these doors and they look very beautiful, you know, but they're all rotten along the bottom. So yeah, I was looking at all the offcuts of the larch cladding that we had, and I thought, what if we do like a kind of weird, like deliberately patchy section along the bottom out of the new cladding, you know, which will grey down and weather with age to match the walls of the gatehouse. And then we'll do like a nice oak frame around the doors, and we'll leave on the old keyholes and stuff, and yeah, somehow they will just look magical and wonderful. And yeah, in the end we experimented with putting back on the, you know, the strap hinges and stuff, but it was too much. So in the end we're just going to use normal hinges like that, and yeah, there you go. You can see the beautiful majesty of that terrain on the old doors, like so many years of flies landing on them and farmers breathing on them and that sort of stuff. Very beautiful. I think maybe it was like painted with the old Swedish tar paint. Anyway, we scrubbed them down, took off all the old bits of fittings and stuff. Look at this beautiful sensual photography by Eddie. All pretty soft. Oh, nice. Yeah, and I'm wearing my black Strangler's gloves. There you go. I mean, that's what we did. First thing was just clean them all up a bit, take everything off. There were a lot of wood lice living in those doors, which I was sad to evict them from their homes, but they can move back in now, I guess. Me and Elsa having a little production meeting. Yeah, so at this point we have a little interlude. We're only just getting going, but I'd filmed a load of drone footage, and then I'd left the SD card plugged into my laptop for a couple of days, stupidly, with the twins around. Of course, they took out the SD card, and I then found the SD card holder, but with no actual SD card in it. And yeah, it was a bit annoying because it was some good drone footage from the roofing video, which you can see up here. In the end, it was realized that it's probably been hoovered up, so we had to cut open the hoover bag. So here's a little interlude of me looking for the SD card in the hoover bag. carefully unpacking the contents. This is a whole new YouTube category. Unpacking Hoover bags. Hoover bag ASMR. Sifting through the contents. Amazing how much shit was in there. Look at all that straw. This is from inside the house. This is not the workshop Hoover. This is the house Hoover. And that is actually a balloon there. It's not a condom. But yeah, what is all this stuff? I swear to God, that's the actual moment I found it.
Is it actually it?
There it is, the little golden nugget. Anyway, back to the doors. So then I went and took some measurements. We plugged in the lights so we could see the tape measure, so we could take the measurements. Oh yeah, okay, here I forgot another interlude. I think when it was just raining so much, we decided, okay, let's make a little rack unit for some of my Casio keyboards, which are now in Sweden. And so that's what we did. We made this cool little oak and larch keyboard rack thing, which the twins like. There they are, the SD card murderers. Right, back to the doors. This is it now. Back to the doors. No more distractions. So, using my Multimaster, I took off those cross braces. This is when we found all the wood lice. You might be able to see one or two of them crawling around. Yeah. Yeah, then this was the first door we did, which we did it a bit differently on the other two, but generally the same. This one we totally dismantled the whole door. And then I took measurements and I realised, well, I'm realising a lot of things by doing this whole project. There are certain things in my brain which just do not work very well, and it's very frustrating, and I'm not sure why. I guess it's just because I'm human. But taking measurements, I've always had problems with this. I always do it too tight. I really always want it to be perfect fit, and perfect fits it's an art form, I think, because you have to measure less than it actually is, obviously. And even though I added 2 or 3 mil gap around the whole door, and we spent a long time measuring it, in the end the door was just way too big. I don't know what happened. It was a sad moment for me and Eddie. We had to just trim it down again. We didn't film that because it was too depressing. Chopping down some of the beautiful pine that we bought from one of the sawmills, because everything else is too expensive. So the idea with the door was to build a frame out of pine inside, which we would do like a half lap joint on each corner like that. Can you see that? And then some big dowels through to kind of pin it all together and glue it all up, and then lay that on top of the old door like that, which run down like that, and then clad it on the inside with horizontal pieces from the old wall in the gatehouse. So basically using all recycled stuff except for this wooden frame. Oh, and we insulated it as well. We put some of the wood fibre insulation inside. So the end door is around 8.5 centimeters thick, which is on the thick side, but you know, it lends a bit of a kind of medieval dungeon vibe to the whole thing. Yeah, this is the first one. We probably kind of went a bit overkill on everything, but you know, it's actually a really similar method to when I built my studio doors here in Berlin, which I filled with plasterboard instead of insulation to make them extra heavy, and they work really good. Everyone said they wouldn't work, but they really do. And that's a really cheap way to make soundproof studio doors, because they can cost like $1,000 each, but mine didn't really cost much at all. So yeah, here I am just cutting out the bottom bits for the large cladding pieces to go in, and then we basically bonded everything together using a thin sheet of I think 6mm ply. We used some wind paper on one side just to you know, stop any drafts getting through the actual cracks of the door. Screwed the frame down, chopped off the excess edges, kind of rough cut it first with the circular saw. Didn't go all the way through, so I had to hack it all off with my blunt handsaw. And there you go, that was one side. It was looking pretty good. I mean, even if I say so myself, I think it looks pretty beautiful. And then we carefully planed it down nice and flat. Man, I was so optimistic at this point. Little did I know it was too big, but anyway, never mind. So there was the insulation inside. And then, yeah, we started cladding it with pieces from the old wall inside what's going to be Elsa's office, which we're going to reuse on the wall. So this will be kind of part of the wall, you know, family, whatever. It'll look like part of the whole thing. Screwing it all down. This is why we weren't outside on the roof. It was just full on. At one point, a mental hailstorm started. We got a bit of footage of it, just to show you. But it's cool. Like, the weather in that area is just interesting, you know. Like, I grew up in England. It rains a lot in England. It's grey very often. It has some kind of interesting weather, but generally it's just a bit sort of drizzly and grey. Or it's sunny, you know. Berlin, because it's more inland or whatever, and it's part of this huge continental land mass, it's a kind of slower moving weather, you know. It stays cold for ages, it stays warm for ages, you know, it's a bit more kind of solid. Whereas there in southern Sweden, because it's on this like little tooth of land sticking into the sea, and I guess it's surrounded by a lot of islands and all this kind of interesting landmass and sea mixture, it's pretty mental weather in a really good way. I really like it. It doesn't stay raining for long, it doesn't stay grey for long. And there we go, that was the first door done. Dramatic shot here. There's the second door done, actually. Then we just carried on with the other two. And this was just before we found out that it was too big. We put in the door frames, which I kept measuring, and I kept thinking, oh, something's not right. And then that's the moment of truth there. That's the look of disappointment. So we ended up having to work into the night that night just to try and get them on, because it was our last night basically. But we did it. We got all three in. They're not hung yet, but they are blocking up the holes. So the gatehouse is kind of not totally airtight, but it's pretty much weather tight now. And I think they look bloody cool, even if I do say so myself. And they will kind of, you know, grey down a little bit. There you go. And here are 18 fruit trees which we planted as well on that last day. It all happened at once. And yeah, so we've got a load of apple trees, cherry trees, plum trees, and pear trees. So there you go. That was that. Yeah, we're going back in 2 weeks. We're going to hang those doors, probably trim them a little bit more and get it all working beautifully. So thanks very much for watching again. That's probably it for the videos for this time, but when we go back in 2 weeks, I'm going to start again with more of a kind of daily video update type deal. We'll see how it goes. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my other videos. I will do some music videos at some point. Anyway, lots of love. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.